and officers of my Mendon Society and my very, very helpful, wonderful committee. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this 100th birthday of our lovely little old museum that's right here for us to see and to visit anytime you can come. We have, throughout the year, the days that the museum will be open. I am especially grateful today to come before you and thank many of you for your cooperation and your generosity, who have truly made this a day of celebration. Without that generosity, without that caring, we would not be celebrating this day. I am especially thankful and grateful for the cooperation and generosity of everyone. As you may know and have heard of the great excitement and ecstatic plans that we had made when our decision was made to fulfill the mission of our goal and to restore the museum. This goal was the hope and the wish of our very able curator librarian, Alice Palladini. And here we want to give her a very big hand. Her leadership and loyal dedication was the true catalyst that inspired our members to succeed. Without the thoughtful consideration of our early founders, we wouldn't be here today to celebrate this historical event. I am sure that they would be proud that we took up the cause and went on these 100 years since that fateful day that our forefathers were thoughtful enough to know and feel the importance of a museum, whereby we would have a place to store the early tools and the early things that they knew if we kept and appreciated them, we would be much better able to appreciate all the inventions and wonderful things to follow. How many of us here can be grateful that we have lived to see the wonderful inventions and changes in history. History is such an important part of our lives, and to nurture this day is surely what our forefathers would be proud that we would carry on and see the importance of doing this. My appreciation of all their discoveries, I'm sure, are yours. And forever let us remember them with a special love and a gratefulness. In the continued advancement of history and education, may our dear Mendon Museum flourish for years to come, for the members who will go on and carry on our hopes and dreams of the forefathers that started this institution. I want to thank you now for your attention and have an enjoyable day. And if there are any children, please stay with your parents so you won't get lost. And now it's my very great pleasure to turn over this meeting to you, to our Master of Ceremonies, former Selectman and member of the Mendon, Selectman of Mendon, Arthur Holmes. He is married to our Assistant Curator of the museum, Kay Holmes. They are the parents of 3 children, and they live on North Avenue. Thank you very much.
Well, again, a good morning to you all, and thank you all for coming out here on this day. Questionable weather, but the rain is not going to rain on our parade, right? I'd like to extend a special thank you to Joanne Moore, representing our senator this morning. I'm sure Marie Prante, you will be with us shortly. She is. Where's Marie? Hi, Marie. Didn't see you. Thank you. And Ken Taylor, representing the Mendon Selectmen. We also have representatives from the Bellingham Historical Commission, the Upton Historical Society, the Uxbridge Historical Society, the Milford Historical Commission, the Millville Historical Society, and Northbridge Historical Society. Thank you all for representing your town on the stage and participating in this event this morning. Will you all please rise and join me in the Misco Hill 7th and 8th grade band as we have the national anthem. The invocation will now be given by Reverend John Agnew of the Mendon and Uxbridge Unitarian Church.
May we join for a moment in the spirit of prayer. Great giver of life, we are glad to be free, but freedom alone is not our faith. Rather, we are most grateful for what our freedom has won for us, the gift of the Spirit, your Spirit, which is in us also. We would deepen and cultivate our understanding of primary things, things that come first. We would have the will to make this nation strong, that it may endure. We would not take freedom for granted, but take our responsibility seriously, rejecting both softness of spirit and hardness of heart. May it be so.
Thank you very much, Reverend Agnew. At this point, thank you. At this point in the program, we'd like to recognize Mary Vincent. She's been a member of the Mendon Historical Society for the longest period of time of current members. Mrs. Vincent joined the Historical Society in 1956, 40 years ago. And we'd like to thank her very much for her service over all those years. And she's unable to be with us today, but we have a flower that we'll present to her later. Next in our program is the dedication of the Mendon Historical Society commemorative stone. This stone is being dedicated today to recognize the people who preserved Mendon's history. The many people in the past, the current society members, and those who will do so in the future. The white stone is just to the right out there, the covering over it at the moment. The white Milford granite stone was donated by Mr. William Hood of Hood Companies. The plaque was made and the stone was laid by James Ackerman of Ackerman Monument Company. Several society members toiled to make this commemorative stone a reality. Beverly and Phil Harding and Mila Fay. The stone will be dedicated by the eldest and the youngest society members. The eldest, Mrs. Martha Lowell and Mr. Gordon Good, are both 95 years old, and both are active members and very helpful in the recent museum renovations that served as hosts on open house days. They'll be joined by the youngest members, Don Chase and James Holmes.
Dedicated to the collection and curatorship of historic data and artifacts relating to other town Mendon and daughters. May 18, 1996.
Thank you very much. John Horner III. Let me tell you a little bit about John before we start. John is a member of the Society and a descendant of Seth Hastings, who was president of the first bank in Mendon. Seth Hastings and his sons were prominent citizens in the town, and Hastings Street was named for their family. This Mendon Historical Museum was the first bank in Mendon at that time. Jack is a professional singer, has been on Good Morning America, sang at Carnegie Hall, and does concerts all over the USA. Jack?
On a morning like today, I welcome any help I can get. And this is one that we can all sing. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairie, to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
From the White House this morning, dated May 10th, 1996, signed by our President, Bill Clinton. I'm delighted to honor the Mendon Historical Society as you celebrate your 100th anniversary. One of the most rewarding of human experiences is coming together with people who share common goals and interests. For a century, your society has maintained and built upon the ideals of understanding and mutual respect. The strength of your organization today exemplifies the community spirit and the ongoing commitment to share goals that inspired your founders. I congratulate you, and I extend best wishes for many years of continued success. Bill Clinton. Next we have Joanne Moore, representing the State House and Of course, her husband, Richard Moore, was unable to be with us today.
Good morning, everyone. Dick Head wants to apologize. He had 3 functions this morning, and I got to come to the best one, on its centennial observance. Mendon, as mother town for much of the Blackstone Valley, which, as we know, is a region with national historic significance. The members of the Mendon Historical Society, past and present, can take considerable pride on their leadership and dedicated effort over the past century in preserving the special heritage of Mendon and indeed of the Blackstone Valley. Throughout his career, Senator Moore has shared with you a strong interest in preserving the historic and natural assets of our valley region. And we are therefore especially pleased to be among those who salute the Mendon Historical Society today, and to present to you the following citation from the Massachusetts Senate. The official citation from the State Senate: be it known that the Massachusetts Senate hereby extends its congratulations to the Mendon Historical Society in recognition of the happy occasion of its 100th birthday. And be it further known that the Massachusetts Senate extends best wishes for continued success, that this citation be duly signed by the President of the Senate and attested to and a copy thereof transmitted by the Clerk of the Senate, Thomas F. Birmingham, President of the Senate, Edward B. O'Neill, Clerk of the Senate, offered by your Senator Richard T. Moore.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Moore. Thank you very much, Mrs. Moore. You know, in my past responsibilities as a selectman, I had the opportunity to work with Senator Moore as a representative at that time, and also with Marie Parenti. And I'm very proud to say that I find both of these people to be public servants and to the highest level, and we're indeed fortunate to have them serving us today. Marie Parenti is our next speaker, and most people, well, I don't mind saying, I'm a Republican, or at least I used to be. I have to say Marie made me an independent. Marie?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Mrs. Walsh, former selectman at the home, Reverend Agnew, and friends. It is indeed an honor to be here today. As I walked up the steps, Beverly Harding came forward and said, "You do remember me, don't you?" And I said, "Yes, I do. Beverly Taft, Milford High School class of 1945. We're classmates." And the point I want to make in saying that is that a society or a people that does not respect its past cannot appropriately or intelligently plan for its future. And ever since the day that I was on the Milford Board of Selectmen, I was serving as its chairman, and we were celebrating our bicentennial, our birthday, our 200th birthday in 1980. And as Mendon came by, I remember I had on an outfit similar to this, and I curtsied. And the other 2 selectmen said, "Why did you do that?" I said, "Mother Mendon." I said, "That's where we came from." Most people travel all over the globe to visit the place that they came from. And in Milford, we're fortunate. We only have to come up to Route 16 and to ride around and to thank you for preserving Mendon as in its natural state. Founded in 1631 and chartered, I believe, sometime in 1660, it does offer us an opportunity to look back and see where we came from and how well you have taken care of our mother town. I too have a citation that I'd like to share with all of you. It's from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the House of Representatives. Be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to the Mendon Historical Society in recognition of 100 years celebrating Mendon's history and people. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors, given this 18th day of May, 1996 at the State House, signed by Thomas M. Finneran, Speaker of the House, and authored by your daughter, Marie J. Parenti. Arthur talked about his membership in the Republican Party and the fact that I've turned him into an independent. Well, they often refer to me as the governor's best Democrat, so Arthur, we're somewhere in between, but I hope they understand that I really brought this citation to commemorate the day and not republicanism. I have to tease them. It's the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. To the Mendon Historical Society in honor of your 100th anniversary, marking your outstanding dedication to celebrating and preserving the history of the town of Mendon, which is deserving of recognition by all the citizens of Massachusetts. This 18th day of May in the year 1996, now you can watch Arthur smile, William F. Wells, Governor, and Agio Paul Salucci, Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you very much, Marie. We'll now have some music selections by the Misco Hill 7th and 8th grade bands. Thank you. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to introduce our senior selectman from the town of Mendon, Kenneth Taylor. Yep.
Good morning, fellow senior citizens. And I'd like to thank the Historical Society for the invitation to this celebration. I also want to congratulate them on the 100th anniversary of the Historical Society. Not too many organizations are still going on today after 100 years. Most of them died away. And I understand and Mrs. Alice Palladini had a lot to do with this, and I'd like to offer congratulations to her for her efforts. I guess I'm part of Mendon's history because I've been here since 1922 and I've lived here for 74 years. So I've been around here a little while, seen a lot of changes in the town. I think you'll find in the next 5 years you'll find a lot more changes. It's too bad it has to happen, but that's the way of modern life today. And I'd like to thank Arthur for the invitation, introduction, and the rest of you people for all your efforts you put into this day. And I hope you have a lot more success.
Musical selection by the Misco Hill 7th and 8th grade band. Next on our agenda is the poem, The Mendon Historical Society, composed and read by Norman Rogers. Norman doesn't need much of an introduction, but I'm going to try. Norman is a lifelong citizen of Mendon. He has a passion for poetry and has won the Editor's Choice Award for his many poems. He has written over 500 such poems. Norman was Mendon's Man of the Year in 1995, and he's written a poem to commemorate the 100th birthday of the Mendon Historical Society. Norman?
I wasn't here for the last meeting, but almost. Mendon Historical Society. Today, another mile in history, the birthday of Mendon Historical Society. 100th birthday we celebrate this year, a history of the town we all hold dear. Books and artifacts of long ago, histories of a family many of us know. Many people work to preserve, and thus there are many memories kept for us. Records of early settlers in the town, how land was divided all around. Reverend Joseph Emerson, first minister, the same where Emerson Street got its name. The society home was once a bank, and we have set Hastings to thank. Whatever else was recalled to fame, they gave Hastings Street his name. We could go on and on with praise, with names from our town's early days. The Tories, Penimans, and Wheelocks too. Darlings and Holbrooks in town's who's who. Ferdinando Thayer, strong so they tell. Colonel Crown, well known as well. There were many others, you see, gave reasons for our great history. Matthias Puppa's wife and son slain, but Matthias was married again. I met one of his descendants 5 years ago. How many generations removed, I don't know. Now in the last 100 years or so, we had many to help the town grow. There were the Woods, Taft, Lowells, and Goss, well known and respected, now the town's lost. Aldridge, Kinsley, Medcalf, and Brown, all were well known in our town. Barnes, Chet Shattuck, a generous man who gave much during his lifespan. I could go on with many others, including services given by my brothers. I have much love for this town we hold dear. I'm so glad they let me live here. And this being a good Republican town, we're very tolerant of some of the Democrats we let in. And we also are quite tolerant of those independents who are not sure where they're going.
Guess that all brings it down to earth. Next we have an address, The First 100 Years of Mendon Historical Society by James Holmes. Let me introduce James to you. James is a member of the Mendon Historical Society. He's a descendant of the Gaskill family of Mendon, and many of the founders and early settlers of Mendon. He's a genealogist, specializing in local and Arcadian families and history. He's past president of the Middlesex Historical Society and is on the board of Massachusetts Historical and Genealogical Society. He's written many articles on Mendon and Blackstone's families and cemeteries. James Holmes.
Holmes Day here in Mendon. Welcome to the centennial anniversary of the founding of the Mendon Historical Society. It's an honor to be asked to give a brief account of the history of the society as a direct descendant myself of Walter Cook, Ferdinando Thayer, George Aldridge, Reverend Joseph Emerson, Benjamin Albee, and John Rockwood, all early settlers of Mendon, along with some of the latecomers such as the Gaskells in the 1700s, the Wilcoxes, the Southwicks, the Barrows, and yes, even the Mungers. The town of Mendon had already been incorporated for 228 years when Julius George, Marcus M. Aldrich, Henry W. Gaskell, Sarah L. Staples, and Horace Adams met at the home of Mr. Adams on the evening of November 15, 1895, to discuss the question of forming an historical society to include within its limits all the territory included within the original limits of Mendon. They concluded that such a society should be formed for the purpose of encouraging a love for historical research, the accumulation of all matters of a historical nature relating to the town of Mendon or any of her daughter towns, which have from time to time established governments of their own since her first settlement in 1659. And so it was that on Tuesday, February 18, 1896, at 10:30 a.m., the first meeting of the Mendon Historical Society was held at the town hall. 150 persons attended this inaugural event on a cold, snowy February morning. The pattern that would develop for these early society meetings was for several historical lectures, a business meeting, lunch, which was referred to as the basket picnic plan, and singing of such popular songs as Auld Lang Syne. The speakers for that initial meeting were Ellery B. Crane, Esquire of Worcester, who gave an inspiring speech with numerous suggestions of tasks the society might take on in the years ahead. An address by Reverend Carlton A. Staples of Lexington about legends and traditions of ancient Mendon, and an essay by Miss Sarah Staples of Mendon on the ministry of Reverend Grindal Rawson, the second settled minister of Mendon. It was common at the end of a lecture in these early years for members to add additional knowledge and information from their own storehouse of knowledge. The next order of business at that initial meeting was the election of the first officers. Julius A. George of Mendon was unanimously elected as the Society's first president. 7 vice presidents representing the daughter towns of Mendon were Henry A. Whitney of Bellingham, Arthur Putnam of Uxbridge, Reverend George S. Ball of Upton, Gustavus Williams of Milford, Dr. Adrian Scott of Blackstone, David S. Bostwick of Northbridge, Delano Patrick of Hopedale. Filling out the slate of that first round of officers were Horace C. Adams, Secretary, Lucinda S. D. Treasurer, Sarah L. Staples, Librarian, all of Mendon. A constitution was adopted, and the Mendon Historical Society was off and running. And oh yes, membership dues were 50 cents. 3 meetings per year were held in the various daughter towns, plus an annual meeting in Mother Mendon. A society does not operate without a purpose. The Mendon Historical Society undertook to prepare papers on each of the early settlers of Mendon and to locate the house sites of these founding fathers. In 1901, the Draper brothers of Hopedale coordinated the placement of the Matthias Puffer Monument on Providence Road at Hartford Avenue to the memory of the first bloodshed of King Philip's War near that spot. A committee on marking historical sites proceeded to mark the site of the Mendon meeting houses. In December 1901, Marcus M. Aldrich of Mendon was elected second president of the society, a position he would hold until 1911, a period of growth unmatched in the society's history. It was during his tenure that a tablet marking the first three meeting houses was placed on land secured by the Society in 1904. Known as Founders Park, we stand on that site today. On several occasions, the high school and grammar schools attended Society meetings. In 1906, Florence Aldrich sang a solo written by her grandfather, Marcus Aldrich. She later became a leader of the Society in her own right. On the 10th of June, 1909, the Society was formally incorporated in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It was traditional in the early years of the Society to offer tributes to members who had passed on within the previous 12 months. Eulogies can be found in the Secretary's minutes of meetings for such Society stalwarts of the early Society as Dr. Adrian Scott, Gustavus Williams, Horace Adams, and many others. 1911 saw the election of the third president of the Society and the first non-resident president, Henry A. Whitney of Bellingham. Marcus Aldrich oversaw the placement of bronze markers on the graves of 28 Revolutionary soldiers in the necropolis, or now known as the Old Cemetery on Providence Road. In 1912, President William Howard Taft was elected an honorary member of the Society as a descendant of one of the settlers, Robert Taft. The following year, a committee was appointed to see about the publishing of the vital statistics of Mendon. That same year marked the first field day held at Nipmuc Park. This would become a popular event for the society. The Legends of Mendon Pond was a poem written by James H. Cunable of Mendon about Nipmuc. Throughout the years, the society always made a point of preserving copies of lectures. 1915 saw the death of President Henry Whitney. Lewis A. Cook of South Weymouth, a native of Blackstone, was elected as his successor. That year, Sarah Staples read a paper when George Washington came to Mendon. The following year, papers were read titled Some Centenarians of Old Mendon and How to Live 100 Years. 1917 marked the 250th anniversary celebration of the town of Mendon. A crowd of 1,000 people attended this patriotic exercise. Later that year, Francis N. Thayer of East Blackstone was elected 5th president of the society. The society now began the search for a suitable hall to hold the growing holdings. Donations had been growing. An Indian relic collection had been donated by Orrin Cook. A picture collection was given by Miss Kate Chapin, and various other articles and papers of historical interest. In 1919, Dr. John Marshall French of Milford replaced Thayer as president. Song was provided that year by the society's oldest member, Davis B. Cook of Woonsocket. Still serving as librarian after all these years was Sarah Staples of Mendon. In 1920, first mention is made in the minutes of acquisition of the old library building, formerly the original Mendon Bank, for use as a Mendon Historical Museum. This effort came to successful fruition 1 year later in 1921, and this year, 1996, we celebrate the diamond anniversary of the museum. It has undergone much needed renovation over the past few years, and the results are terrific. Do stop by the museum this summer and visit a piece of Mendon's heritage. There is no charge. Over the ensuing years, markers have been placed marking the old post lane on North Street to Moses Aldrich, a noted Quaker preacher in the Quaker Cemetery on George Street, the Pound on Providence Street, and a bronze marker at the old cemetery honoring Mendon soldiers who fought in the French and Indian and Revolutionary Wars. Restoration of the Quaker and Pine Hill cemeteries and Mendon's first pound have been projects of our society. I will leave for another time more detail of the 1921 to 1996 period, but a visit to the museum will prove we have continued to preserve our past. In the past 25 years, it has been the ladies who have carried our society into its second century, as evidenced by today's president, Genevieve Walsh, and our curator, Alice Palladini. I close with a quote that's on the building in the Washington, D.C. in the National Archives. The past is prologue. Thank you very much.
These are in your program. We're going to sing 2 verses of it. Oh, beautiful for spatial skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea, and by human hill. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.
A closing ceremony by President Mrs. Genevieve Walsh.
Beginning for this century, this event, and I want to thank everyone who had a part in it. I think that we can all feel very proud that we were able to be here and be together to commemorate this day. In the name of the Independent, I had a thought. They say they're the happiest people in the world because they don't know when they're going and they don't know when they're coming. So maybe that will help us to have a little spirit of what's to come. And thank you very much, especially James Holmes. I was very moved that you did such a beautiful report. You thought of everything that we should remember. And I think that everything that you said was a fine recollection of what we're all about. Thank you very much. You did a beautiful job. And thank you, everybody. I've been able in my 80s to be up here and speak to you. Thank you very much for coming. You've made my heart sing and made the wonderful things go on that we pray for in our museum in this beautiful little old town of Mendon, and may it always be beautiful, and may we always come together. Thank you very much.
People want to join in the singing of Happy Birthday to Mendon. You can see the cake up here, so I guess that's a sign of something in the future. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mendon. Happy birthday to you. Thank you.
I hope you'll all join us for the cutting of the cake.